All right, actually, we will get started. It seems like everyone was able to come in that was waiting in line. So again, welcome to our first ever post-secondary planning night for freshmen and sophomores. So this idea came out of our post-secondary counseling team that said, why don't we try to do something a little bit bigger and broader and bring some more folks together at our district office and talk about life after District 214. And so today we have Dr. Laz Lopez here to introduce the event. And then we also have a couple of college reps who are going to be here to talk about their campuses, what their campuses offer students, how they're different, and then also give you guys a chance to talk to them and ask questions as freshmen and sophomores on what their campus is all about. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lopez, and we will go from there.
Thank you so much, Tony. Hi, good evening, everyone. At least it's not quite as cold as it was yesterday, and we have a little bit of reprieve today and tomorrow. So I appreciate everyone making the trip out this evening. The tagline of our district for the last probably 5 to 8 years has been this idea of discover your future. And all of the work that we've been doing over the last decade has been to create this context, this environment where students really can explore and consider, so what am I interested in? What am I excited about? Sort of looking beyond just high school graduation and what's their decisions and choices they're going to make after they cross that stage, so they can make more informed decisions that are aligned to what speaks to them and what areas they've engaged with while they were here. And so it makes you think a little bit about, can you remember when you first discovered your career interest, if you're in a career that you're excited about still, or what major you were in college? Because there's some people that just knew, right? There's students that I talk to that come to District 214, and from the moment they walk in, they're like, I know I'm going to be in healthcare. This is what I'm interested in. This is what I want to do. My family's a doctor, or whatever that interest is. And then some of them do that, and then they start in some of our coursework, Intro to Healthcare, and they decide, oh, maybe I don't want to do that. I think I may want to try something else, right? For me, I didn't discover I was going to be a teacher until I was 28 years old. I was finishing my associate's degree at College DuPage because I had done quite a few other things, which I'm going to talk about. And for some reason at that point, I discovered, oh, okay, maybe I should do education. And I called Illinois State and had a conversation with one of the counselors there, and that's how I decided. But we all get there in a different way, right? We all have divergent paths. And I wonder if you remember that for the adults and the parents in the room. I share this just a little bit because this did inform a lot of the work and a lot of the work that began when I was principal at Wheeling High School. So I had spent a decade before I went to college. And I was in the military for 6 years, active duty. I worked for American Airlines. I was an instructor for them. I worked in flight service. I was in real estate, an appraiser. I did workforce and adult ed. And actually, even when I was in the military, I was a training NCO when I was in Korea. And so I had done all those things across a decade, but I still was sort of this extended discovery process or exploration, because I did not have, growing up, necessarily that context or environment to sort of explore my interest, to figure it out. And so all of these experiences I didn't realize were really my exploring and figuring out what it is I wanted to do. And I didn't become a teacher. Actually, I started at Hersey High School when I was 30 years old, when I finally graduated. But we all get here in divergent pathways. And so the goal that we have is, we're a comprehensive high school, but we want you to take advantage of these elective options you have while you're with us to explore and figure out what you're interested in and how that's connected to your post-secondary plan. I'm going to show this brief 4 or 5 minute video. Some of you may have seen it before, but it really does summarize the work that we do.
When I started high school, I was confident in my career choice. I knew I wanted to pursue a career in education. And High School District's 214's Career Pathways program gave me the head start I needed. I took classes to prepare me for my future career, had opportunities to earn early college credit, and even completed an internship in my career path. That real-world experience helped me discover my future, and it isn't in education. My high school experience helped me better define my true passion. It turns out that I love communications, and I hope someday to have a career in broadcast journalism. And guess what? Even though I started the Pathways program in one area, I was able to easily change direction and do a multimedia internship where I wrote, edited, and produced a video.
That's what the Pathways program is all about, opportunities and options, and it's available to every single District 214 student. The goal is to make sure you graduate knowing what you want to do for the rest of your life, or what you don't. The way I look at it, they're helping us succeed. Educators here are focused on our future success, no matter what our path may be. For me, high school has helped me break out of my shell. I did musicals and track and the AVID courses, which helped me prepare for college. And through Career Pathways, I took advantage of so many new courses. I was able to take business, marketing, and finances classes. Those opportunities combined showed me what I wanted to do, sports marketing.
So what is Career Pathways? It's a sequence of courses and experiences to help us get from high school to college and careers. It's a program to make sure we leave college, career, and life ready. Throughout this program, I was able to intern in the research department here at Northwest Community Hospital, and it was incredible. That's not something most high school students get to do. Other students have completed apprenticeships in areas like cybersecurity, so they're getting paid to learn critical career skills. Others have earned endorsements in specific career fields.
In all, we can choose from nearly 4 dozen programs of study across 16 nationally recognized career clusters. A career cluster is a group of career fields with a common theme. District 214 offers architecture and construction, education, health sciences, information technology, law, manufacturing, science, engineering, mathematics, and more.
Within each of these are specialized areas of study focused on a career that interests you. For instance, in law, you could focus on legal services or law enforcement. In health science, you'll complete supervised clinical hours towards a certified nursing assistant credential to begin your career as you focus on coursework for pre-medicine, nursing, or other allied health fields. It all depends on you.
Through Career Pathways, you can earn early college credits while you're in high school. That saves you time and money, and helps you achieve career credentials and gives you work-based learning experiences. District 214 engages with nearly 1,500 businesses to offer student internships and paid apprenticeships, and partners with colleges and universities to deliver career programs such as aviation and education. The District 214 Center for Career Discovery matches you to internships and provides other opportunities to explore careers through career nights, workplace tours, classroom presentations, and speakers. Some of them are alumni who once walked our same path.
The high schools continue to support your path with career-focused clubs and experiences like mock trial and robot rumble or college field trips, and so much more.
You don't have to leave high school knowing every step of your career, but you'll leave ready to discover your future. To learn more about career pathways, visit d214.org or talk to your counselor.
So I still love that video because it's brief, but it really is powerful as far as what we really worked for this last decade to deliver for our community. The only reason I share this is this idea that our goal is really to engage students in school, right? And for some students, and you look at sort of that outside ring there of that gear, for some students, they're excited to come to school just because, you know, they may want to play basketball or football, or because they're in the fine arts and they want to be in band. But for other students, it's the career pathways that gets them excited about showing up, that they're in their area that they're interested in, that the courtrooms that we have, because that's what gets them excited and they're interested in, or the activities. But the ultimate goal is still the same. It's really post-secondary completion. Whatever that means for you in your future. And for some, it might be a welding credential. For others, it's a doctorate, right? So depending on what your field is. But driving engagement through this area of interest. And so we know quite a few things we've learned during this work. So first, the power of dual credit. It's not about us wanting to be in college or accelerate students to get there any sooner than they need to. It really is because we know that accessing early college opportunities reduces the amount of credits you need for your degree. It helps you transition to the higher demands of college level courses. It helps you explore your options before declaring a major. And it actually doubles the likelihood of persistence to completion in post-secondary. We also know 80% of college students change their majors at least once. That's national data. And this is profound. I was fortunate to speak at the White House, and Dr. Burrow was there, and he was talking about sort of this power of purpose. And that purpose isn't found, it's cultivated. And it's about creating sort of this context, an environment where students are able to discover, and that there are significant positive outcomes related to sort of cultivating your purpose, and that typically individuals who find their purpose earn more, they're physically healthier, they live longer, all based on his research. And so after a decade of implementation, we know some of our students are going to four-year universities. You're going to hear from some today. Some are going to go to community colleges. I started at College of DuPage after I left the military. Some go to technical schools or the military, obviously, as I did, or they go directly to the workforce. But my hope is when they're graduating high school, they're not graduating into a job, but graduating into a career, even if they're going directly into a workforce. We have 40 career pathways that we've developed. We have 80 plus unique early college dual credit courses with 7 higher ed partners. So your student will likely have a transcript from one or more of the universities or colleges here, depending on the pathway. So the university partners, higher ed partners, are connected to specific pathways. So Lewis University is our partner in aviation. So if you're doing ground school, that's where the credit is transcripted from. National Lewis University is our business partner. So if you're doing college macroeconomics or college managerial accounting or college financial accounting, it's your National Lewis University. 82% of our students in the class of 2024 graduated with early college coursework already in place. 82%. That is scale. That is a majority of the students. And the average student left with about a semester of credit. So about 15 hours or so, or a little bit more. And we know that leads to confidence and sort of this self-efficacy and belief that you could be a successful college student. 70% of the students in the district, this used to be higher pre-COVID. The number since COVID has dropped, I would say. My hope is that it's on its way back up. It has. It's gone up a little bit from the last few years. But 70% of students are on a college campus within 12 months. But this is what I'm really proud of, is 90% of the students that we send to college, according to the National Clearinghouse, are still there year 2. 90%. So we believe that the goal of the model is to prepare our students for a future with opportunities and economic mobility. And I share this just sort of what you saw in the video, that all the career pathways have these 3 key principles, and they've had since the beginning, since over really almost 15 years ago when it began. Sequence of courses that lead beyond high school, so that every sequence is connected to some kind of a post-secondary path, that there's work-based learning available. After about junior year, you should be hearing from the career advisors in the building, encouraging you to start applying or start thinking about an internship or an apprenticeship, and a capstone experience where there are early college credit opportunities in all of the pathways, or some type of industry credentials. You even see, if you look at our academic handbook online, it's all organized along the different pathways and opportunities. So when you see, for example, in health science, all of the red are all of the courses available in the pathway. Everything below, those are all your graduation requirements. We know you're still taking English and math and science and all our graduation requirements. But it's trying to engage students in their area of interest. And it's not like you're picking anything and you're stuck there. It's simply helping you explore. And you start in one, and if you change your mind, just like you heard from Emma, the video, it's okay, and you can change and pick other electives and other pathways. I'm just going to share these 2. So all the courses in gray are actually early college classes. They're college courses. And so a student, for example, who's interested in education can leave us with 24 college credit hours and an embedded work-based learning experience, because we place them across the elementary, middle schools, and high schools in extended experiences by the time that they're senior years embedded in some of these courses. And they're taking college speech and college composition and ed psych. And the idea is that they are fully prepared and fully invested, and they know that this is what they want to do by the end. And isn't it better to make that decision while you're not paying for classes or courses, and you're discovering that and figuring that out? And the goal is to increase their likelihood of persistence to completion, to graduation. And this is an example just in the trades for students that are interested in the trades. Both Triton College and Eastern Illinois are partners. And students are getting college credit in carpentry. And they can go to Triton and get an associate's, or they can go to Eastern and get a construction management degree. Students here are graduating with at least 15 semester hours of credit. And I want to show you a quick little, this is about a 2-minute video. This is one of our apprentices interested in the healthcare field. And this is her experience she had. She's getting paid senior year. She's still in classes. She's doing human anatomy and physiology, and having this experience.
Hi, my name's Ria. Today we're here at Northwest Community Hospital. I'm going into senior year of high school, and I'm working as an apprentice. Hi, Sue. I put the sit to stand lift. I put it in the therapy gym for you.
Northwest Community was very interested in working with District 214 with this apprenticeship program. I figured it would be a wonderful opportunity to bring a student onto the unit and expose them to what we do here in the hospital. It's a great learning opportunity for students here. Great experience right off the bat. And of course, the extra help in the hospital setting is certainly appreciated.
Hi, I'm gonna do your blood pressure. I'm on the rehab unit right now, so I learn a lot about stroke victims, brain injuries, things like that, and basically how to care and aid for patients who have weakness or they have aphasia where they can't talk. I took the CNA class at Hersey, my high school. We did it at the school, and I think it definitely helped me because the entire class was training on how to be a CNA/PCP. So everything I learned, I use all that education every day while here at my job.
Okay, your pressure is 137/86.
One of my favorite things to do throughout the day is just talking to patients and making sure everything's in check, and if it's not, I'll help them get there and make sure everything's all right. Throughout being an apprentice and getting my CNA license and being a PCT here at the hospital, it definitely helped me realize that I want to pursue the medical field, and I hopefully want a future in nursing.
She's great, isn't she? Imagine her now applying. The nursing programs are very selective. It's very hard to get into those programs. Imagine her application for that nursing program and how strong her application will be, or if she's going to become a physician. And a lot of times medical schools require you to have 1,000 hours of clinical hours before you even apply after when you're going on. So that's the other powerful benefit. She's already started. And the most important benefit is that she knows this is what she wants to do. Like, if you're having this real experience, you're going to figure out, is this really for me or is it not for me? That's the power of all this. If you go to our YouTube page, you're going to see videos of kids doing internships in business, manufacturing. There's dozens of videos there. You can see lots of others. It's just one example of it. But at the end of the day, the goal is that students are graduating here. They're college ready, they're career ready, they're confident, and they can make an informed choice. And I know it's very easy to become cynical and think that this is normal. I want you to know I travel all across the country. Thousands of people have come to visit us from across the country just to see what it is we're doing. And so this is a wonderful opportunity. I hope all of our students are taking advantage of it, talking to their counselors about their electives and pursuing the pathway so they can figure out, is this what they're interested in? Thank you so much for coming out this evening and for giving me a few minutes to share this story with you. Thank you so much.
So we had the chance, Dr. Lopez presented to all the post-secondary counselors and all the counselors in the district earlier this year, and told a story and gave us some insight on this, and it really hit in a way that it didn't really resonate with us before. And so we thought it would be great to bring him on just to kind of deliver that same message to you guys so that you understand what we do at District 214 and all of our schools, to to help support our students. Not only our seniors, although the majority of our work is helping seniors with their applications and with their application process. The post-secondary counselors who are here, so we have Mr. Genovese from Buffalo Grove here, Miss Joanne Amador Zapata in the back from Wheeling, Miss Fisher is back there from Rolling Meadows, Miss Felix, is Lori here? She's outside. So from Specialized Schools, Lori Felix is here, and then Colleen, unfortunately, or Miss Carroll couldn't make it from Prospect High School, and Mr. Chocolis from Hersey could not make it tonight. But every school has a post-secondary counselor along with their actual generalist counselor. And the reason why tonight's event is actually pretty meaningful is, like Dr. Lopez said, course selections have come and gone, and you guys are going to get your course verifiers. And one of the things that I wanted to highlight is this is your chance to look at those course verifiers for families to look at, what is it that my child's going to be taking next year? And one of the messages that I deliver in Elk Grove is avoiding the unconscious compliance. And so a lot of our students will go through this process compliantly, right? I know what I need to take. I need to take a math class. I need to take an English class. But they don't stop and reflect and say, what are the things that I enjoy doing and what are the things that are going to benefit me? And so as our college reps will come up and explain, a lot of times when you're applying to colleges, you're going to have to explain, what did you do in high school that sparked this curiosity or made you think that this is the thing that you wanted to do? And write about that. And so if we move our brain from that unconscious compliance to ownership and saying, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I'm curious about? And actually taking control of our education, we have the opportunity to really write a powerful essay when our senior year comes. Because I know I don't want to speak for all the post-secondary counselors, but a lot of students say, what should I write here? And my response is, they want to know about you. So tell me how you would answer that question. We can wordsmith it, right? We can work on the content and moving things around and the grammar and things like that, but it's your story. What did you do while you were in high school? And what Dr. Lopez really highlighted is all of the opportunities outside of the classroom, which is why it's so important for freshmen and sophomores to think about, what am I going to do the next couple of years? This backwards planning, right? I want to go to Purdue and I want to be in aerospace engineering. What does a freshman profile normally look like at Purdue? What does an average student look like? Now, do I want to be that average student or do I want to do something above and beyond that? So what are the things that I can do to really explore that experience or that major so that when I write this essay, I have some content that is meaningful and powerful. And so moving our brain from that unconscious compliance to owning your future is so important as a freshman and sophomore. So, let's see. We only support our students in four-year colleges. We want to make sure that that is very clear. We changed our name from college and career counselors to post-secondary counselors to really emphasize the fact that we work with all of our students. And our goal is to get you where you want to be and help you through that journey and through that process. Today is going to be a lot about four-year college. I'm going to be honest with you because a lot of our students and a lot of our families have those questions. And that's why we invited our guests here to kind of explain their campus and what their campus can provide you as a student that might be different from each other, and how those campuses are different and how they do support students differently, and why as you kind of go through your high school experience, you need to think about yourself and what it is that you value and that you need as a learner. So you're going to hear a lot about fit in the next couple of years, right? As we explore colleges and universities, what are our needs and our wants? So we're going to talk about academic fit, financial fit, and social fit. But one of the other things that I really want families to think about are the A's, as I call it. And again, when I'm talking to sophomores and freshmen, it's about access. Am I going to be able to apply? Am I going to get in? How do I get into a competitive university? What are the things that I'm doing to get in there? So that's access. For a lot of the parents out there, it's affordability. Can we afford this college? What are some other options that are going to deliver us a very similar product? Meaning, sure, Purdue's aerospace engineering program is great. We all know that. But so is Western Michigan's. And so will Western Michigan offer you a scholarship where maybe Purdue won't? Are there other universities? Do you need a smaller environment? Are you going to start at the community college and then transfer? The Pathways program at Harper is amazing. So access, affordability, but for me, when I talk to freshmen and sophomores, it's also about achievement. We don't want you to just get there, but like Dr. Lopez highlighted, we want you to stay and we want you to do well. How do we do that? Well, we build the rigor. As you look at your course verifiers in the next week, how are you building your rigor? So for the folks out there who go to the gym, are you adding weight? What are you doing to get stronger? That's how you should approach education. How are you adding the weight? How are you becoming a better student? Because when you do step foot on this campus, there is going to be an expectation that you're here. And so the more work you put in while you're in high school academically, the better off you're going to be. All right, so these are some of the events that we run throughout the year. It's not just tonight. There's a huge district fair that we're going to run as well. We're going to talk a little bit about school links eventually in your buildings, right? This is our post-secondary planning software. We want families in there. It's basically a way for you and your student to kind of research some opportunities that are out there together. Financial aid nights, student athlete nights. So there's a lot of stuff that we do out of our office, so we will try to deliver those messages to you for you guys to come to more and more events. Some will be virtual, some will be in person. A lot of messaging comes from school links. Sometimes it'll be an email, so be checking your emails for those. Mr. Genovese, do you want to come and introduce them and speak as well? All right. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Genovese from Buffalo Grove.
Thank you very much, Tony. Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Genovese from Buffalo Grove High School, and as you can see, we all kind of work together, putting this program together. We kind of, with Dr. Lopez, we started at the top of the funnel, right? We're the broad scope, the big picture. And that's why we think it's really important to invite freshmen and sophomore to get an inside scoop as to the process and the procedures, all in the theme of really making it a lot simpler during your child or students, your senior year. It should not be a stressful process. It should be smooth. It should be fun. It should be exciting. It should be a lot of conversations at home at the kitchen table, not arguing, but good, healthy dialogue and conversations. Kind of what we were talking about, finding the right fit. One suggestion, and that's kind of where we're talking to you now, start early and often. Have some conversations with your kids, students. Bring up to say, hey, I was on School Links, or I was looking online, I looked at this stuff. The more you share, students, with your parents, guardians, the more you share with your son or daughter about costs and what's affordable, it really paves the way for a very healthy process and the application process during senior year. It does not have to be a painful and like stressful and high anxiety time. It's totally on the flip side. So we started with a lot of cool things that District 214 offers that I hope you do take advantage of. We talked about like a lot of different options that you have, which you know. And just so you know, all of us that Tony had mentioned, myself and Tony and Karen and all the post-secondaries, we work with your kids all the way through senior year. So we're not just like given a ton of information and go, ooh, hope it sticks, you know, good luck, kid. It is not that at all. We work with your students through programs, core programs, small groups, individual, family groups, evenings, daytime events. We hope we're going to speak. You're going to hear from a couple guest speakers in a moment, but we bring guest speakers into the buildings. So at any point, parents, you have a question, please feel free to give us a call. We all do a communique of some sort, a newsletter, regular emails or whatnot, just to keep everybody posted. So what we do is kind of enhance kind of what Dr. Lopez had mentioned. We encourage that, we promote that, we facilitate that, both ourselves and your son or daughter's generalist counselor. So just so you know that. So as we kind of go down from the top of the funnel and kind of whittling down, we have two guest speakers here from two very different colleges and universities. We have represent Maira Suerte from Marist College, which is a smaller school out in New York. And then we have Jennifer Troupis from Purdue University right here in the Midwest, which is a large Big Ten school. And the theme for tonight is we just want you guys to start a suggestion to start thinking about all the different kinds of options you have. Now, of course, we have two reps here, but there's a wide variety of types of schools. And that one slide we talked about, it is about finding the right fit. Academic fit, financial fit, and social fit. So those three, we always say find the right fit, but like an academic fit, if you look at the profile of an average student at that university, and your son or daughter or student, you fit that, you're in the bell curve, that means there's 10, 15, 20,000 other students that are like-minded, that are similar in academics. That means you're going to fit in, there's a great likelihood you're going to fit in really well. Financial fit is another piece of the pie. I'm sure moms and dads and guardians are more concerned or worried about that, but talk and have some conversation, see what's affordable. So there's no surprises down the road, a couple years, 3 years down the road. And then the social fit. Like it might on paper or online, it might look like this is the best school that fits me. But once you get to that place, maybe it's located in an urban setting and that's not your thing. Or maybe it's on the flip side, it's located out in very rural America and that's not your thing. That's all kind of tied into finding the right fit. And again, that's why we're starting now early and often so everything makes sense come your senior year. And it is not a stressful time. So that's the logic. So with further ado, I'd like to introduce our two reps. And what I did, please have a seat. We're going to have a time for question and answer. But what I did in their talk, they're going to certainly talk about their institution, the type of environment that, or the type of the average profile of a student that's there. And I embedded about 9, 10 of very popular questions that parents and students have. So they'll probably address a good chunk of your questions, but nonetheless, at the end, or hopefully maybe, whatever time we're at, if you have some questions, they'll be more than happy to answer them. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Maira and Jennifer, and you can take it from there.
Does take a second. Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Troupis. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at Purdue University. I'm also regionally based here in the Chicago area for Purdue. So what that means is I'm actually the Purdue Counselor for all of District 214 and the high schools in Cook County and the high schools in Lake County, but I am your direct contact. Purdue is an example of a large public university, and that is typically identified with a student population of over 30,000 students.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Maira Suerte. I'm the Director of Midwest Admission for Marist College, soon to be Marist University at the end of this month. Marist is located in Poughkeepsie, New York, about 90 minutes north of New York City. And we also have a second campus located in Florence, Italy as well. So indeed, students can pursue a 4-year degree either on our main campus in New York or on our Florence campus in Italy. And I represent a mid-sized independent liberal arts institution that's private. And so we are more so on the smaller size of mid-size because we're home to about 5,500 undergraduate students and about 1,000 graduate students. So today, Jennifer and I will be sharing a little bit more about navigating the college search process, finding your fit. We'll talk generally about our institutions, but we certainly have materials right out these doors if you didn't grab some. And of course, we'll have some time at the end for Q&A as well. So if you have specific questions about our institutions, we're happy to answer them.
Yes. Well, I forgot to say where Purdue's located. We're located in West Lafayette, Indiana, and we have our urban campus located in Indianapolis, Indiana. So we're one university, 2 campuses. But we want to find out who all of you are. So my freshmen, could you please raise your hands? Thank you. My sophomores in the room, could you please raise your hands? Do we have any juniors or seniors in the room tonight with us? Yeah? Okay. Parents, how many of you, this is your first child who is going to be eventually attending college? Like this is your first go around. All right. What's the other question that we were going to ask? Yes. How many of you have participated in a campus visit of some sort, a college campus visit, just to get a good idea. Okay, great, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting us know who you are, since you already know who we are. So we're just going to dive right in and talk about finding your fit, right? It was shared already that finding your fit can be identified into 3 different types. So that's academic fit, financial fit, and social fit, right? And so we want to make sure students that you and families that you find a place that's financially attainable, a place where you feel valued and where you feel seen, and of course a place where you're going to thrive as a student, right? And so I always bring up the idea of a Venn diagram as a really great visual, because you can imagine 3 circles, right? And they all intersect and they coexist with one another. So they all have a relationship. So there are a lot of factors that you're going to be considering when picking a college to call your next home. And so we won't go through all the factors because there's a lot, but some of the factors that I certainly want you to think about is location, right? And so do you want a campus that's in an urban area, a rural area, a suburban area? Do you want to stay close to home? Do you want to go far away? Do you want to stay in-state or out-of-state? Illinois is pretty large. And so if you go all the way to southern Illinois, it could be like a 5-hour plus drive, right? And so you certainly have to think about those things. You also want to identify if you want a large public school, right? Or a small private school. Do you want to go to a technical school, a community college? All of that matters. And I think it's also important to figure out what you're passionate about, what brings you joy. And so students' reflection is real, and that's going to look very differently for each and every one of you. But I really encourage you to take some time to write down the things that are important to you. What type of learner are you? Are you someone who is a visual learner? And so the environment that you're going to be is crucial when it comes to picking a college. And so in order to identify what's a good fit, you have to visit campuses. And I know that takes time. That's going to take time out of your busy schedules. You're going to have to arrange that. And it's not something that you have to do tomorrow. But I certainly encourage you to visit campuses, because visiting campuses, you're going to be able to start to picture yourself there, and you're going to have to interact with intention. And I'm not saying just interact with the admission officers. You're going to have to also interact with current students, with faculty. Who here is a student athlete? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, a couple of you. If you're interested in continuing your sport, you're going to want to interact with coaches. You're going to have to interact with all these individuals to see if this is where you want to see yourself flourish as an individual, professionally and personally, right? You may fall in love with one of the Big Ten schools, and let's say you've always dreamed about going to Purdue, for example, but then you get to their campus and you realize maybe this campus is a little too big for me. I still love Purdue. I still love watching Purdue sports, but maybe it's not an area that you're going to thrive in. So, but it all depends. So you're going to go to Marist campus and you're going to be like, I really don't like the Hudson River Valley. It's just not an area that I see myself spending here for the next 4 years. So all of that's going to matter as you start visiting campuses. In addition to visiting campuses, I also don't want you to discredit the virtual visits either. So let's say you're interested in a school out in the West Coast, but you just don't have the capacity to go visit that school right now. Look if they have virtual tours available, and that's going to also kind of help you start to visualize yourself. It's not going to be the same as being there in person, but that's a start, right? And then I also want you to know that there are different types of visits. So not only do I encourage you to visit a school once, visit a school twice once you've narrowed it down to your top 3 choices. Start with large-scale events like open houses, where you're going to get to learn about academics and the student life and the admissions process, and then maybe you want to go back and shadow a class, or maybe you want to meet one-on-one with admissions counselor and talk about financial aid. Just know that we are here to be your advocates and your cheerleaders through this process, and so we're not scary people, and I really do encourage you to start to build those relationships with us. In addition to that, So Jennifer mentioned that we're regionally based here in the Chicagoland area. So we represent institutions that are not here in Illinois, but we're regionally based here, so we are accessible to you. So we're always happy to meet with you to talk about the college process, the admissions process, and we're very transparent individuals, and so get to know us. We live in an area that we're very fortunate that there's a lot of Chicago regional representatives in the area that represent many institutions across the country, and some international, believe it or not. So please take advantage of getting to know us. We will be at your college fair, at the District 214 fair. Actually, that takes place right here in this building in April. So certainly just know that we're here to help you kind of navigate that process. And as you start to think about the type of programs that you want to study, who here knows exactly what they want to study? Anybody? Okay, some of you, that's awesome. Well, I really love the statistic that Dr. Lopez shared earlier today that people change their mind all the time, and that's okay. I was one of those students. I changed my mind 3 times in college. Don't worry, still graduated in 4 years, and it was great. So just know that we want you to know that there are resources out on college campuses, and I'm going to go ahead and let Jennifer talk a little bit about what academic programs and what being undecided looks like.
So just to go back to finding your fit, how do you set up a college campus tour? You go on the school website and you sign up for it there. And in most cases, you're going to see a slew of types of visit opportunities. That's where you're going to find the virtual opportunities, an option to connect with the admission counselor specific to your area. And just so you know, you are able to call the Office of Admissions at the different institutions that you are considering to find out who your contact is, to ask about campus visits at their school as well. If you're taking a road trip and you know you're going to be driving past school X, Y, and Z, even if you're not interested in those universities per se, those colleges, stop. You don't need an official campus tour to park and walk the campus. I was in Madison with my kids few years ago, and I Googled self-guided tour, and we walked around the campus. Now my kids are little, but still we did it. We thought it would be super fun. I wanted to see the campus. It's beautiful. So just know that you are able to do those different things. So we talked earlier tonight about career pathways and understanding and exploring what it is that you do want to do throughout high school to help guide you to potentially what career and really what area, what major you're going to study once you get to college. But what if you're undecided? What if you get to your senior year and you say to mom and dad, or whoever your support system is, I know I want to go to college, but I'm just not sure what major I want to go into. Or, I know I'm interested in computers, but I'm just not sure which major is the best fit for me. I know I'm good in math and science, but that doesn't mean necessarily I want to go into engineering. I don't know what is a good fit for me. I know I'm interested in health sciences. I'm just not sure what's a good fit for me. It is okay to be undecided. It is okay to apply to a university as an undecided student. You are not looked down upon in any way. In fact, universities and colleges have become intentional about creating very structured, undecided programs. So for example, Purdue has an exploratory studies program where all of our undecided students can apply into. Marist has an undecided program called Focus. Other people have, it could be called undeclared, it could be undecided, whatever it may be. But you need to know what questions to ask those universities and colleges if you are planning on going in undecided. So the questions you need to ask are, how does your undecided program help me decide what it is I do want to do? What type of classes will I be taking? What kind of advising will I be receiving in those programs? Is there any type of career exploration, internships, job shadowing within those programs? The next question is there any restrictions of programs that I can go from undecided to another major at your university? Are any programs closed for me to go into. Does that make sense? So like, for example, at Purdue, students can go from exploratory studies to essentially any major. So some students will ask, well, can I go from exploratory studies to engineering? Sure. Yes, students can. Is it guaranteed? No, absolutely not. Why? Space availability, requirements, many different reasons. And that verbiage is clearly stated to those students, right? It's not a way to get into the hard competitive programs. And we'll talk about that later. You know you want to apply into a competitive program, apply into the competitive program. But if you're truly undecided, just know that universities have gotten really good at those undecided programs. I don't know if there's anything else I want to add there. Is there anything else? I'm sure there's something I missed.
I think the only other thing that I would add is that once you've decided a pathway, most often students don't have to declare their program until the end of their sophomore year. So that's just something to keep in mind, students. So you may go into college undecided, and of course we'll provide you with programs, resources, a toolkit to figure out what the best fit for you academically is, to then be able to declare your program by the end of your sophomore year.
And just to give another viewpoint about it being on a personal level in terms of, I feel as if those undecided programs, people almost think of it as, oh, all these kids are getting thrown in and there's this large student population and it's the academic advising isn't strong because there's just so many students. Let me give you an example. At Purdue, the academic advising for our exploratory program is 1 advisor to 150 students. So it shows how strong those undecided programs are. Okay, and many universities are like that. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the review processes at our different schools, using our schools as examples for our types of institutions.
Yes, so at Marist, when you're thinking about the application process and what that all entails in the review process. So we have a 2-step review process. And so that initial step, that first step, is myself reading your application. So I get to read all the District 214 applicants who apply to Marist first. And so when I'm looking at your application file, I'm looking at your transcript first. So I'm going to be looking at upward trending grades, downward trending grades. I'm going to be looking at your level of rigor of courses. I'm going to look for any hiccups. I'm going to look if you, if I see, let's say, a D, for example, and maybe you choose to explain why you received a D in that course, I'm going to look at that information. And so students, you are your best advocates. And so it's important for you to explain. I can assume what happened in those courses, but I don't want to. I want to know your story, and I want to hear what your academic journey was in high school. So I'm going to look at your high school transcript. Then I'm going to move on and look at your essay. I'm going to look at your essay, your list of extracurricular activities. And when I think about your extra list of activities, I don't want you to feel the pressure that you have to have a laundry of list of many activities that you are involved in. Of course, I'm going to look at leadership. I'm going to look at service. I'm going to look at consistency if you've been involved in, let's say, basketball all 4 years, or maybe you were a part of student government, things like that. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at to see if you have any jobs outside of school, if you volunteer outside of school, your family responsibilities, all of that falls under those extracurricular activities, and they make up who you are. So don't feel like it's just the things that you're doing in school. It's also the things that you're doing outside of school as well. And that essay piece too, just be your true, authentic self. I often share my favorite essay that I've read, and I've read quite a few essays in my time in admissions, and one of them that I really enjoy is There's a Monster in My Room That Takes My Time. And so the student chose to talk about their alarm clock in their room, so, and how they see it as a monster. And so it was very creative. Like, the first thing when I read that sentence, there's a monster in my room, I'm like, well, is the monster underneath your bed? Is it in the closet? Like, what's going on? And then I find out that it's an alarm clock. So please don't feel like you need this like traumatic story or to be a part of your essay. And of course, you can write about those things, but just write about something that you find joy in, that talks about who you are and not anyone else. So just a little tip when it comes to the essay. And then I'm also going to look at letters of recommendation. Since Marist specifically, we do require them, and so we will look at a letter of rec as well. We are a test optional institution, and so we'll talk about standardized testing in a little bit, but just know that at my institution, it is your choice if you want to submit a test score or not. And so I know that you're all freshmen and sophomore right now, but once you become a junior, you're going to be entering that world. You're probably starting to think about preparation, what that looks like. So just know that questions that you should be asking the admission representatives is asking them, what are your test score policies, right? And so for Marist specifically, it's your choice if you want to submit one or not. Jennifer mentioned that there's a lot of specialty competitive programs, right? And so at Marist, we do have a holistic review process. We look at you holistically. You're going to be directly admitted into our institution, not necessarily into the program that you are wanting to major in. So for example, you might be a biology major. Your acceptance letter will say, congratulations, you've been admitted to Marist. Well, by the time you're applying, Marist University. And so it's not going to necessarily say biology in your acceptance letter, right? There are other institutions that will specify the program that you've been accepted into, but just know at Marist, we're admitting you directly to the institution. However, we do have a caveat. One of our competitive specialty programs, we're known for the fine arts, so we're known for fashion design specifically. Fashion design will be a program that does require additional application materials. So that is a program where we would require a portfolio. And so just be mindful that if you're looking at those competitive specialty programs, make sure you're asking those admission representatives, what type of materials are you requiring in addition to my essay, my list of extracurricular activities, my transcript, things like that. And so there are 3 different pathways that you can apply to my institution specifically. And you may be familiar or not familiar with these terms, but a student can choose to apply early decision. By any chance, is this a new term for most people? Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. So early decision is a binding agreement with a student, meaning that if a student decides to apply early decision and they are accepted into Marist, they're committing to my institution. So we are their top choice. There's no ifs or buts, like this is where they want to go. And so they are choosing to apply early decision. Then a student can also apply early action. Early action is a non-binding agreement, meaning there is more flexibility on the student side. If they are accepted, they can choose to attend or not attend my institution. However, they will still receive an admission decision early. And so at Marist, we release our admission decisions for early decision and early action before the holidays, just to give you an example. And then our last way to apply to your institution is through regular decision. Regular decision is also a non-binding agreement. Same thing, students have the choice to attend my institution or not. However, they don't receive their admission decision until March of their senior year because they choose to apply much later. So at that point, there can be a space issue and certain programs could have reached capacity, things like that. So just be mindful of the different pathways that you can apply to institution. Again, that goes with research. As you start creating your list of colleges, you're going to look at deadlines, you're going to look at ways to apply to the institution. Certainly not something that we want to overwhelm you with right now, but just know that that is coming in your future. And last but not least, I will also share that in addition to having a holistic review process, meaning that we take everything into consideration when making a decision, we're also taking demonstrated interest into consideration. And you may ask, what is demonstrated interest? Well, demonstrated interest is basically every interaction you've had with the institution. So that means visiting our campus, doing a virtual visit, visiting the admission rep at your high school, an email, a phone call, a text. Kind of sounds creepy as I start mentioning all the things. We track everything. We can see everything. We can even see if you've opened an email. So just know that we track all of that. Marist, we take that into consideration when making admission decisions. Not every institution will do that, but just know that at my institution specifically, as an example, we take demonstrated interest into consideration. So students, as you're meeting with admission representatives, just ask, do you take demonstrated interest into consideration when it comes to the review process? And last but not least, we are a unique institution where we do have 2 campuses. So students do have the opportunity to apply to our Florence campus as a high school senior. The application process is the same. So just know that that is something that's also available to you, and there may be other institutions that also provide global experiences, but it's important to also ask them if there's a different review process if you choose to study internationally.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the review process in general, and I'm going to generalize this for large public universities and honestly other schools as well. You will start to hear the word common application, and that is the application that many universities and colleges use for students to apply to their schools. So essentially it's one application where a student fills in all of their information, and then they select the schools that they want to send it to. And then each school has their own information that they want a student to fill out as well. Okay. Some universities have direct automatic admission. Like if you go to their website, you go to any school's website, go to their admissions website, you'll see what the requirements are, how they review applicants, the student profile. What's a student profile? That's showing you the freshman class, their GPA, the average GPA, the average test scores of what it is to get into that university. The admit rates, percentages will be there as well. So it's not a secret. It's all there for you. You just have to see it. Okay. So some universities, again, will have that automatic entry. You have this GPA, maybe this test score, you know you're in. Other universities have what's called a holistic review. And what that means is that there is no set GPA necessarily or test score to get into the university, that every applicant is reviewed for admission or considered for admission at that school. And holistic means that they are taking every factor of the student's application into consideration. Those factors are academics, activities, the essays, and then letters of recommendation if they are provided. Okay? So I'm going to use Purdue as an example of a university that uses a holistic review. You heard earlier that for example, she reads the applications for the students applying from this district. For some schools, that is true. For some other colleges and universities as well. The admission counselor who represents our institution will read it for your district. Large universities like Purdue, that does not happen. Could I potentially read one? Sure. But all of our applicants, every single one, goes through what's called an admissions committee. What that means is that your application will be seen by more than one individual before a final decision is made. There are so many factors out of your control when we are making those final decisions. So what I'm going to talk about, and we're going to talk a little bit later, is those factors that are in your control. What you are in control of as a freshman, as a sophomore right now. And that is being a good student, taking courses that challenge you to your level, being involved in activities that you find enjoyment in. And again, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So a holistic review. We literally read the application from front to back and back to front again if we have to. We look at your academics as a whole. The big question is, well, do you look at weighted or unweighted GPA? Well, every university is different. Some look at weighted, some look at unweighted. For Purdue, we look at whatever the school gives us, okay? Remember, we receive applicants from all over the world in all 50 states. So we see all different types of grading scales. We are more concerned about how you earned your GPA versus what your GPA is. So that's where we look at your academics freshman through senior year, the strength of your curriculum. We'll talk about AP classes in just a minute, okay? The trends in your grades. If you have a dip, if there's a positive trend. And so holistic reviews for other universities, this is what they're doing with your academics. This is what they're doing with your transcript. They're dissecting it. They're looking at it. If the school requires a test score, and we'll talk about testing in a minute. Purdue does expect test scores, so we look at students' test scores in conjunction with their overall academic experience. We then look at activities. When it comes to activities, it is truly important for high school students to understand that universities are not looking for you to do 20 different activities. That activities section allows us to humanize this college application. Who are you? Where do you like to spend your time? You all do something. So what is it? Well, that's where it's your chance to put that in there. We'll talk about higher level impact activities in a little bit. When it comes to the essay, your high schools do a fantastic job prepping you as you get into your junior and senior year for college essay writing. All the workshops that are going to be at your fingertips. So don't worry about that. But as was stated earlier, that is the part where we get to see a little bit more of who you are. But then in those supplemental essays that colleges have, that is your opportunity to show us, hey, I did my research on your school. And as you get into your junior and senior year, essays are not something you need to worry about right now. You're really going to get into that, into dissecting all of that when you get there. We're going to kind of go into AP classes and standardized testing. I want to talk about standardized testing first. The testing policies over the years have changed. It used to be everybody required a test, ACT or SAT, whatever it may be. Over the years, some schools have gone to what's called test blind, where they don't want a test score. You send them one, they won't even look at it. Many schools have gone test optional, which we heard Marist is an example of that. Test optional is not a trick. If they are test optional, they're test optional. The questions you need to ask are, I know you're test optional, but are there any tests that are tied to direct entry programs like direct admit, which means you start in your major day one? Are there any scholarships tied to test scores? Are there any honors programs tied to test scores? So you just want to make sure you're asking the right questions. Other schools like Purdue, we expect test scores. So send your test scores, okay? So the question is, if the school wants a test score, then you say, hey, do you super score? And this may be getting in the weeds a little bit, but what is super scoring? If a student happens to take the ACT or SAT more than once, and they decide, maybe math was higher on this test and English was higher on this test, well, you can send both tests to the school, and they'll take your higher sub-scores, and some of them create a new composite. Others just take your highest composite. So they'll make you look as good as possible. Again, not required to go out and take multiple tests right now, but just so you know in the back of your head, that is something that schools do. So right now as freshmen and sophomores, what can you do about testing? First off, testing policies may change by the time it's your senior year. So as a high school student, you could start doing some test prep, some practice tests if that's what you want to do. So feel free to start doing that. I'm sure your high school has many resources to help you down that avenue. Anything you want to add for testing?
The only thing that I would add is another question that you can ask outside of super scoring is, what is your middle 50%? And institutions are usually pretty transparent on their websites. And if you can't find it on their website, just ask one of the admission representatives and they'll let you know what the middle 50% is for SAT and or ACT.
One of the questions that we were asked to cover tonight is, what is the value of AP classes and how do colleges perceive them? And I think we both can chime in on this. What time is that? I don't have my watch on me. Okay, so when it comes to AP courses, I think first and foremost, students, you saw tonight that your district, by the way, as was stated, It is not the norm, everything that is offered to you. This district is phenomenal. It really is. And the course offerings, the career pathways, etc. But you need to challenge yourself to your level at the same time, whatever that means for you. So whether it's honors or AP or dual credit, however it is for you to be a good student, because your job is just to be a good student. That's what you should do. AP courses are great college preparatory courses. It can help students earn college credit, which can help with finances on the back end, just like dual credit courses. When it comes to competitive programs, and that's what I'm going to speak to right now, engineering, computer science, those competitive programs at really competitive large universities, taking AP courses does not guarantee you admission ever. No one can say, if you take this course, you're guaranteed admission into this school. That doesn't happen. However, taking those AP courses, specifically in math and science, using computer science and engineering as an example, will help prepare you for the rigor of that university. Because you have to understand, when we're reviewing applications, it is not about if you can get into our school. Anybody can get into a university. Can you stay at that university and be successful? And that was a really powerful statistic that was shared earlier, that 90% of the students that are going to a college out of 214, 90% of them are staying to year 2, right? That's what it said. That's really powerful. That means you guys are prepared, okay? So that is what we're looking for. And those AP courses, historically, again, I'm going to repeat myself because I repeat myself a lot. Historically, those students are prepared for the rigor of those really competitive programs. Does that make sense? Okay.
The only other thing that I would add in regards to dual credit and AP courses, it's okay to ask what AP score do you accept for myself to get credit at your institution. Ask if I'm taking XYZ at Lewis. Do you accept this course? Will this course transfer? How will it transfer? Those are the questions that you can ask so that you know how you're going to be coming in as a first-year student. And typically we have charts on our website that you can also look at and see what the qualifications are. Yeah. Okay, so another question that we were asked to prepare for tonight is how to best prepare for college as a freshman and sophomore. So as you begin creating your list, doing some reflection time, figuring out what you value as an individual, what you're passionate about, we want to make sure that you have resources in place outside of your district. Your district will have so many resources. School Links is a great platform that you'll learn to navigate. So that is number one resource. Obviously, use your post-secondary counselors as resources too. They're there to help you through this process to answer all your questions. Some other resources that you can find is, one is the College Essay Guide. If you just Google College Essay Guide, he is a really great individual who provides tips and tricks on how to prepare for an essay. And so he'll have you, encourage you to do a values exercise. He'll have some articles, some different activities to help you with the brainstorming of a college essay. So that's a really great resource. College Scorecard through the U.S. Department of Education. That is a really great resource where you can compare different institutions that you may be considering. So you just type in, let's say, U of I, the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. You can go ahead and look up their profile and you'll see everything on there. Similar to the College Navigator through the National Center of Education Statistics, that's another great resource where you can also see the different profiles of different institutions across the country. Big Future through the College Board has a variety of quizzes that you can take to find your college fit. You can find a scholarship quiz on there too, a career quiz, a college fit quiz. And so these are just other resources as freshmen and sophomores that you can start like looking in and be like, oh, I didn't know that this school was an option for me. So like start to use those resources as well. And of course, attend these college fairs, high school visits in your area, connect with the admission representatives, and don't be afraid to pick up the phone and give us a call to ask who the admissions counselor is for your specific high school. You already met 2 here, so we have all of your high schools in District 214. So we also have our business cards. So if you are interested in any of our institutions, definitely reach out. And the other piece of advice that I would give you, I know it's probably not something that you want to hear, but I'm going to give you homework. I challenge you students that it's never too early to start this process. So take a half an hour to an hour every weekend from now till your senior year, and I mean, you don't have to do it every single weekend, to start doing that research, to start compiling the list of schools, to start understanding different vocabulary terms when it comes to the admissions process, the financial aid process, to do those virtual visits, to go to campus visits. Just start to do your research now. Trust me, you won't regret it, because again, we don't want this process to be stressful and overwhelming. It does not need to be. It's supposed to be an exciting and rewarding time. And trust me, the moment you get your first acceptance in the mail, it's just gonna be, yeah, it's super exciting. I still remember mine. So, and if you're anything like my parents, they chose to keep all my acceptance letters and put them in a binder. So I could still look back and see when I got accepted to things. Not saying that you need to do that, but and then I also would encourage you to start thinking about how you best organize your items. Like, start to think about creating an email specifically for colleges, like samgoestocollege@gmail.com. Like, think about that. Create an Excel spreadsheet with all your passwords and usernames, because you're going to have a lot by the time you are a senior. So make sure you have an organization system in place that will help you prepare for when that time comes.
On top of creating the email address, because we're talking about what you can be doing right now as freshmen and sophomores, and parents, students, what you can be doing right now, and parents, what you can be doing. Okay, so one, your post-secondary counseling departments have their own websites. They are full of information and webs and resources for all of you. So if you haven't visited those, I would strongly encourage you to get online for your specific high schools and take a look at your post-secondary counselors' websites that they've created for you. If you have not already, students and parents, start creating a Word document or an Excel file of all of your activities and honors and awards right now. So that way you have that compiling list by your senior year. I guarantee if you don't do that, you'll remember this conversation. You'll be filling out your senior year application. It's going to come to the activities section. You're going to go, oh my gosh, what did I do freshman year? I should have listened to that lady from Purdue. Yeah, I should have. Okay, so just make sure you're starting to do that. Identify who your support system is. Is it mom, dad, aunt, college counselor, guidance counselor? How do you want to talk about college outside of your support system? Do you want to talk to your friends' parents? Do you want other people knowing where you're applying to, where you're not applying to? This is something that you guys need to talk about before senior year, because that's where a lot of anxiety comes from for students too. Like, everybody knows I'm applying here. You know, what if I don't get the decision I want? So just talk about your support system, how you want to talk about colleges outside of your support system as well, okay? Start visiting colleges. We've talked about that. Now is a good time. It doesn't need to be rushed, but don't leave it for junior, senior year. You've got plenty of time. We all know we're all busy, okay? Let's see. Just continue being involved in activities that you're passionate about. Be a good student. Google college preparation timelines. You'll see tips for parents, tips for students. The one that I have sitting in front of me is from Purdue's website. It's Purdue's college preparation timeline. We have it laid out from middle school all the way to senior year. So lots of universities have those college preparation timelines for you. If I'm going to switch it over to her. If you want to add anything, feel free to. Otherwise, we're going to talk about finances a little bit, the investment, and then we'll get to Q&A.
Perfect. One thing that we forgot to mention with the resources is the high impact programs. So what we mean by that is pre-college programs, summer programs. And so start to research different institutions' websites, see if they offer programs over the summer, which they do. For example, my institution does, and we give you college credit, students, and you get to live on campus for 2 weeks. And so just know that there are programs like that. So start to look at those opportunities, because again, those are really great opportunities for you to start to picture yourself on campus, but also to put on your application file. Okay, now we're going to talk about affordability, right? Your education's an investment, and this is what's the word I'm looking for? I need you to start talking about money. So money is important, and it's an important conversation to have. So students, have those conversations with your parents and guardians. Parents and guardians, set those expectations clear with your students on what you're willing to help when it comes to paying for college. College is expensive, and so just know that, again, it's an investment, but there are resources out there, and the earlier you start, the better. And so when you hear the term cost of attendance, that includes tuition, it includes room and board, and it includes additional fees. And those additional fees usually are like a technology fee, a health fee, nowadays an environmental sustainability fee. All of that is included in the total cost, and those are bill costs. Like the institution itself is going to charge you for that. And so in order to help offset the cost of all of that, you're going to start to familiarize yourself with merit-based scholarships, with specialty scholarships, with grants, with loans, maybe even work study. Though I know that those are all new terms, and I don't want to overwhelm you with the terms right now, but just know that you're going to have to use those type of resources to be able to fund your education. And of course, you're also probably going to have an out-of-pocket cost to be able to go to whatever institution you end up going to. But it's important to just initially have those conversations now, and to start to figure out what is realistic for you, for your family. The other thing that I will also have you keep in mind right now is understanding what the FAFSA is, so the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. If you are eligible for the FAFSA, certainly something that you should start looking into. It is a free application, and that application itself, if this is your first child going to college, it determines need and if you're eligible for loans and grants. And so oftentimes, a lot of institutions are going to ask families to submit this information. If you do not qualify for the FAFSA, there's also the alternative application in the state of Illinois. And so that's another resource too that is available to families. So overall, just know that admission representatives are here to help you. And so it's important for you to ask the questions of, what does a typical financial aid package look like for an incoming student? And also think about it in a 4-year commitment. Like, yes, you're going to be coming into college, and this is your package for your first year, but you also have to understand that you have to think about sophomore, junior, and senior year too, and how to finance that. So think about it as a 4-year plan versus just the first year of college. Does that make sense? Yeah, and there's a lot of ways that you can finance your education too. There are payment plans. Again, admission representatives will go through that process by the time you're a senior, and you do have amazing post-secondary counselors who will also provide you with workshops and additional information when that time comes. But just know, for now, to start to have those conversations. And we'll open it up for Q&A.
All right, thank you very much. A couple things before just a few housekeeping things. One thing I just want to take away, and thank you very much for the information that you gave, a compare and contrast. One thing I do want to let you know and reiterate that what I see when we talk together, because myself and all of my colleagues talk with college admission reps fairly regularly. We are friends, we talk, we have, we pick up the phone, we talk to each other and have some dialogue. It is definitely, this process is definitely more personal than what I think a lot of people think. So hopefully that's a key takeaway. It's not just a computer, you pop it in and say, okay, you got in or you didn't get in. They do take a lot of time with each child's application. So that's good. That's a good tip, and just wanted to reiterate that. The visiting thing, I absolutely 1000% agree. And it's like they were saying, and I just want to, it's really important. Every student, if you're college bound, it really should have visited a campus or two by the time you get to senior year. We encourage that at school. And just a fun fact, we're in Chicagoland area, we're in a major metropolitan city. We have 44 colleges within less than a 50-minute drive right from here, this building, or wherever our attendance area. My point is, it doesn't have to be a 5-hour drive or make this big mountain out of a molehill. We got to visit all these schools on a list. It is just, hey, let's check out, just drive to Northwestern in Evanston, Illinois. Let's drive to Elmhurst College. Let's go shoot out to Northern Illinois, which is a 15-minute drive. So we have a luxury of visiting a lot of different kinds of schools, publics, privates, selective schools, technical-based schools, fine and performing arts schools. So just a tip on that. So this evening runs to, thank you for bearing with us. This evening runs till 7:30. So we're going to open it up for question and answer. And if you don't mind just hanging out to 7:30, and then we'll see how we're doing on questions, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. And if you have to go, want to be respectful of your time, but I think maybe you'll hang out a little bit if you parents have a question or two after the formal presentation ends. So with that being said, I'll open up the floor to questions. You just want to raise your hand, we'll pick on you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question was, what is the process for IEP students? And so I can speak for my institution specifically. So at Marist, we actually have a learning support program that students can also apply to as a high school senior. It is a phenomenal program. It does require a separate application, and it does require an interview as well. And so students who do have an IEP currently in high school, those are the students that would be excelling in our learning support program. Of course, this is a program that students can opt into applying. It is not a requirement, but overall, we do have the resources through our academic services department outside of the learning support program, and that's pretty common across the board, regardless of what institution you're going to. There are academic support services for students. The difference is that students, you are your self-advocates, and you're going to be asking for those additional resources that you need to be able to succeed in the classroom. But in terms of the admissions process, it's the same. There's nothing changes whether you have an IEP or not.
And just to reiterate, you know, students should be challenging themselves at their own level, right? One of the questions that I often receive is it better to take an AP class and get a B, or I don't want to use the word regular, but regular level class, standard level class, and get an A? And I can tell you that for Purdue, an A is an A, is a B is a B, a C is a C. Doesn't matter what the class is, okay? So for a student, when it comes to taking AP courses, I think that when it comes to the transcript and looking at it in the review process, I should have mentioned that, like, Purdue specifically, we're directed Miocic University. So we're reviewing students for the specific major they're applying into. So when it comes to, like, let's say engineering, for example, historically, students who take those AP courses are very well prepared for our engineering program. So taking calculus and physics and chemistry at that honors and AP level is something that we hope to see in our most competitive applicants. But I think taking those honors and AP courses, dual credit courses as well, I don't want to leave those out. Those have an impact in general, just in general, of showing that, again, that a student is college ready, that they're willing to challenge themselves as well. And I think all universities are looking for students who are wanting to challenge themselves in that way.
I'd also add that if you don't feel, let's say, that math is your strength, I would not encourage you to take AP Calculus because you'll likely not do well in the course. So certainly, again, going back to what we said earlier, choose your classes based off of your strengths and your abilities. You know you best. Don't feel like, oh, the ladies from Marist and Purdue told me I need to take all these AP classes and dual credit classes to be able to look good on a college application. No, we want to make sure that we did not communicate that. I should stop turning this off and on and off. Okay. Yes, no, that's an excellent question. So the question was, how is it perceived if you start taking it like an AP English class, let's say your first year, but then choose that it took a lot of your time, or second year, it took a lot of your time and it was just not where you want to be for the following year. And you decide to put more of your energy in a different AP course and choose to do like an honors English course. So how is that perceived in the admissions review process? I think that goes back to you know you best, right? We're going to see that, and we're going to see that, okay, it looks like the following year the student chose not to take an AP course or continue AP courses in the English curriculum. But I do see now that they're taking AP courses in these areas. That's not going to look bad at all. And often, and I know this wasn't your question, but sometimes I do get students where they start the first half of the year in that AP course and then decide the second half of the year that I'm dropping it and I'm changing it, and they explain why. And I'm like, there's an explanation. I know exactly why they're changing it, and that's okay, students.
And just for comfort, in the applications, this is far-fetched, like far away, but there is an additional information section. If a student, in a courses and grades section for students to explain courses and grades, if a student has anything that's happened, a dip in grade, or maybe they had an illness and they were out of school for a while, or maybe they decided they did want to just focus in a different area and decided they didn't want to take, like we're using English as an example. And if the student feels that they need to advocate for themselves, there's places for them to do that in the application. Okay, so don't worry about that. That was a really great question. Thank you for asking. Every school is different. I don't know if you want to chime in this. Like for Purdue, for example, we have a 2-year world language requirement. But, oh, good question. So if a student took Spanish 1 in 8th grade and Spanish 2 freshman year, I'm only speaking to Purdue. For us, that counts as 2 years. However, do we want to?
I second that. That's the same thing for my institution.
What about like our flagship schools or any other state universities for Illinois?
World languages, I think the first point is, yes, that we get this. In fact, I've been dealing with this question probably regularly for the last 2 weeks. Like, it's not the number of years, but it's the level. So 7th, 8th grade, Spanish 1, freshman year, Spanish 2, that student has met the Spanish 2. What I think if we would take that question a step further is that do universities require continued language after, if a kid met 2 years, do they have to continue or not? Sometimes that's the question, like, are you a VI? I believe that they need to, once you've taken 2 years, you still need to continue on when you get to the university. So then sometimes students say, well, then I might take 4 years in high school, so I'm completely exempt from world language once I get to university level. But in the broader scope, and Kara, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel that it's the minority of schools that are absolutely requiring, a lot of schools do not require a world language. So kids want to take it, so I'm not saying not to take it. Kids want to take it just in case, and that's a good plan. So you take your 2 years to like just make sure you check that and you have it just in case. But very many schools do not require it, but some do. So kind of like when you're fresh, like now, take it, and if you're in world language, take it, and then you can decide between that second level and third level if you want to continue on, and that's when you can speak with your counselor and make a decision.
Good question. Great question. What other questions? I see a hand right here. Okay.
So 4 years usually is a standard for language. Yeah, so like 7th and 8th grade, so if you take Spanish in 7th and 8th grade, those 2 years equal 1 year of high school world language. The same thing applies. 1 year of high school foreign language equals 1 semester of college language. And so I don't want to cut off that question. We can continue in a moment, but it is 7:35. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Why don't we give Jennifer and Myra a round of applause for thanking for their time. Thank you for coming, and if you have more questions, we can continue to address them. Thanks.